Joining us now on In Focus are one of the cutest couples you'll ever meet, and they actually met in residential school. So Darcy and Jennifer Wood are here. Darcy, Jennifer, thank you so much for coming in. And as I just mentioned, you guys met in residential school, right? So can you maybe share a bit of the story there?
All right, yeah. We both went there at the school in 1973 and got there. And we didn't know each other. I'm originally from Garden Hill First Nation. That's how I got there, and I was the only one from that area to come to Portage La Prairie at that time. So,
yeah, and we met there, and we were friends first of all, and we had a group of friends that we stuck with during the duration at residential school. And we, you know, when you're at residential school, you become very close with everyone because you're by yourself and you don't have your family with you. So we connected with friendship first of all, and then soon, I mean, afterwards, when the residential school shut down, we both were in Winnipeg, and we literally bumped into each other in front of Colony Theatre.
Just a happenstance little incident there, is it?
Yeah, well, I had graduated in '76 and left, and she continued to go to high school elsewhere. So I think there was a 2-year span there. We haven't seen each other, but like as you said, literally, and we were still friends, and we were still. So it was good to see her at that time, and we remained good friends for a few more, couple of years anyway, and until we saw more of each other.
That's such a cool story, and the fact that you also bumped into each other after that too. I mean, it just then everything was working out and it's worked out, which is always great to see. So, being in the relationship, and I thought I'd ask you guys, what's the secret, maybe, if there is one, to a loving relationship? If you have any secrets.
I think it basically is having respect for one another, and to value each other, and to have faith in one another. I mean, everyone knows that relationships aren't easy, and you're going to have to make sacrifices for one another, and I think that's what we've done. And I believe that the basis of our success for our relationship is that we remained friends the day that we met. We always have that ongoing friendship and still laugh at one another's jokes, and we still, you know, have those deep conversations that we did when we first met.
Right.
Yeah, on top of that is communication. And she's right, there's no perfect relationship. And the thing is, we keep working at it. Even to this day, we still work at it. Keep working on it and getting more and more insightful. We're beginning to kind of read our body language a bit better too, and know when to stay away, know when to have your alone time, because alone time is good too. So she does a little bit of meditating, so do I. So that kind of helps, just being yourself.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so you had mentioned how important it was that maybe you were friends before getting into a relationship. So how important truly was that you had known each other on a level where it was you could just be friends and not have to worry about that other romantic side of it too?
No, we were good friends, and we were with other people as well that we remained close with as a group, because we relied on one another with our other friendships. So we did many things together. We went on sports together and trips together, and the residential school is a place where you want to have close friendships that you can trust and have a confidant in, and that's what I became to love about him, is that he was still my friend and still is my best friend today.
And people say never go to bed angry. Is that true for you guys?
Well, at the beginning, not so true. But you learn. That's one of the things that you learn. You work on. That's one of the things you work on. Sometimes it's just that, okay, being apart is good as well.
Yeah.
So you got to let that happen. You got to let that grow as well, up until you get to that point where, yes, don't go to bed angry, but sometimes you still have to, right? But it's still like no relationship is perfect, but you find your medium spot.
Right.
and something that we can live with. We know it's okay to do that as well at times.
Well, and I imagine that's where the communication comes into play too, is if you do go to bed a little angry, but I imagine it's, again, just one of those things you guys work on all the time.
Yeah.
And Jennifer, what do you love most about being married to Darcy?
I love the fact that we've come a long way. We had our struggles, and we stuck together through our struggles. We, didn't start off in a most beautiful home, but we had our visions of what kind of life we wanted to have, and we wanted to own our own home, and we wanted to have children, and we have 2 beautiful daughters, and we have 11 grandchildren. So that's what I love about our relationship, is that it kept continuing to grow and to grow and to flourish into better and better things for us. That's what I love about it.
And Darcy, I'll ask you the same question, but what do you love being about married to Jennifer?
Well, I like her what is it, a fire stick. She's always gung-ho about doing something. She's excited about even the smallest things, and makes me realize how life is. Right. Life is beautiful, and when she gets excited about these things, I used to find them boring. But you look at your whole life, your life kind of joins together. Right. So when you start having that same spark together, same interest together, it becomes easier and easier as you go. So our love each other is built that way as well.
And sort of on that same subject, what does love look like to the two of you, and maybe what does love look like in your relationship, and how would you describe love?
I would describe love as being vulnerable, and being able to be vulnerable with one another. Like if we're waiting for some news that we're waiting to happen that might not be the best of news, that I can be vulnerable and he can appreciate it, and that he's there for me, and he has faith in me, and I can count on that. So that's those are the things that come to mind for me personally, that we've always continued to grow into. You almost come to a deeper and deeper understanding of one another, and that's what I really appreciate in my husband.
And I'll ask you the same question again, Darcy. What does love look like in your relationship and to you?
With me, it's many things, but in particular, I like her strong will about being able to communicate. I wasn't a very good communicator when I started, and she taught me that to make it. It's easier if you communicate, being open, being more honest, and I'm a very secure person, and I'm secure in doing what I'm doing, and I feel very secure with our relationship. So I just don't have any of that jealousy portion of me. I really don't. That's how much I have that trust in her. So I don't. I'm very secure on that. So that's my love. I'm secure. I'm not.
Well, do you guys have any children?
We do.
How many children do you guys have?
We have 2 daughters, and we have 11 grandchildren.
Oh, wow.
And we spend a lot of time with our family. They all reside in the city of Winnipeg.
Okay.
And I'm very, very fortunate, because I know people have grandchildren that live out of province, but ours is here. And I always tease my fellow friends that we could have our own hockey team or our own baseball team, because there's so many of them. But they're all healthy, and they're all successful, and they're all growing into really fine young individual.
Yeah.
Well, that's lovely to hear, and it is nice having family so close, especially your close family. So with your children and your grandchildren, have you passed along any of what you've said here to them, and maybe tried to share your experiences with them?
We certainly have tried, but they have to grow on their own with their own partners. Like it's a different dynamics, different situations. So they have to find ways of how they can be able to live together. But again, sometimes in relationships, sometimes it just can't work, because, as Jennifer used to say, you got to be reciprocal to your partner.
Right.
And if one doesn't, and you keep trying, it may not happen at all.
Right.
And I know some of one of my daughters has started a relationship, and then had to end it, But the good part of that is that the father is still very much involved to this day. Attends family gatherings, and I make a joke that she doesn't like it. It says, I got 2 daughters, but I got 3 sons-in-law. It's still one big family, so she learned something with that, and they both learn how to live with that.
Well, with just going back to how you guys met, and maybe, is it your shared experience of being in residential school together, did that help the relationship? Like, if you weren't in, like, your shared experience is what I'm getting at here, and being in the residential school together, do you think that brought you guys closer together after the fact as well? Most
definitely. The fact that we were both at residential school, it really, you know, because we came through a lot, and, you know, our parents, I'm a 3rd generational residential school survivor. His mother went to the same residential school, which is very ironic. And that's very significant to us that we both came through the residential school. It made us stronger. It, you know, we have a history with so many memories there of good friendships and first experiences. So I believe that it has helped us a lot that we both came from the same residential school and we met there.
Yeah, that's so true. And I think she mentioned before, all we had was each other. Yeah. So once we started being friends, that relationship, that bond started growing until, like I said, I think it was probably at least 3 or 4 years after '76. So it's in the '80s. I guess that'll be 1980 if we're going to put a time stamp on when we started being more boyfriend girlfriend at that time.
Right. Well, before we let you guys go, I know I've asked you what you love about each other and what your relationship means, but so we're talking about love, but maybe what do you guys love just outside of your relationship, and just love in general? I'll get you guys maybe 1 or 2 things that you guys just love either doing or seeing or anything like that.
I love going to the hockey games to watch our grandchildren, and I love walking outdoors. I like taking care of myself, and I love documentaries, and I love, you know, when I see youth that are inspired and that they're trying new things. I have a really deep heart for the youth that I believe we have to help them and mentor them and guide them along the way. That's one of my passions that I have for myself personally.
And Darcy, do you want to end off on what you love too?
Well, again, I can safely say I must have been to every hockey rink in the city of Winnipeg, and wherever it was. and it's part of that is family. I know it's not outside of it's kind of outside our relationship, but it's still within there. Right. The family, I love our family gatherings. I love cooking for them, and it's just great. But outside of that, I love the work I'm doing right now too as well. And I know she's passionate about what she's been doing for years. So we have the same interest, and we share. She used to have a little event planning company, and I always helped her out there too. So we even in the professional life, we can work together if we needed to.
We do.
Well, I love this conversation. Unfortunately, I wish we had more time, but we'll have to leave it there, guys. Thank you so much for coming in and sharing a bit of your relationship and your story. We really do appreciate it.
Thank you.
And here's their story from last year from Tamara Pimentel.
This one on our jackets, right?
For Jennifer and Darcy Wood, their time at the Portage La Prairie Residential School in the early 70s led to friendships and experiences that pushed them out of their comfort zones.
I was involved with the sports in the school as well, as part of the basketball team, even the football.
We made a lot of friends there. And that's where I met Darcy.
Little did they know their friendship would last a lifetime. Jennifer and Darcy married in 1992. The pair were both raised by residential school survivors. They didn't experience abuse during their time in the institution. They even went home for Christmas. But the couple says they now feel disconnected from their communities. Darcy is from Garden Hill in northern Manitoba.
Growing up, I remember a lot of times I was in the bush, and I loved that life. I missed it. but that was during the fur trade type of thing. That's how we survived. That way of life I still have. That's when I was 7 because I had to go to school. My dad said, "You can't. The world is changing. You got to go to school."
I came to residential school from northern Manitoba, from Oxford House. My father brought me there. The school they felt was inadequate in Oxford House. So when we got to the school, I brought in my suitcases and Dad was with me and he told me, I guess I'll see you. And I didn't know he was going to leave.
Jennifer says leaving her father meant leaving his teachings on the land.
He was a very skilled hunter and fisherman, and as well he spoke the language fluently. And just being in an environment with a family, you're disconnected, and when you go back to the community, a lot of people will treat you different because you left the reserve and the community, and a lot of people think that you're either acting different or looking different and dressing different. So you always felt a slight disconnect in that way.
Jennifer and Darcy have broken a cycle many face due to intergenerational trauma. They have 11 grandchildren, enough to create their own sports team. Darcy runs 2 nonprofit organizations bringing renewable energy and healthy food to communities in northern Manitoba. And Jennifer works for the National Centre of Truth and Reconciliation, bringing a voice to survivors.
We were fortunate in our time at residential school that we didn't experience getting abused, because a lot of the survivors across Canada fell to being abused, like significantly. That is why a lot of our people are on the streets and are homeless, because they fell to the addictions and dealing with their pain. We don't have the resources in Canada to accommodate that need. And I believe that going forward, I hope that the government will step up and start recognizing what the survivors need and start putting some resources and funding towards that.